Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Wednesday, August 24th, and this is the MLB DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be taking a quick look back at yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out. Talking about my core plays for today, it is the 8-game main slate overall, and then going over to my article over at WeBetATS.com and taking a look at my top GPP stacks for today. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. At the pitcher position, we had Dylan Cease at $10,300. Unfortunately, he only ended up getting to 16 points yesterday, so he was a mess. Gave up 4 runs in like 5 1/3 innings versus Baltimore. Had pretty good history versus them. Had an excellent start versus them earlier this year. Just did not end up working out yesterday. At the catcher position, we had Salvador Perez at $2,700. He got to 6.5 points, so did give him a push yesterday. Not anybody that killed our lineup, but not anybody that put our lineup over the top. Then at third base or shortstop, just depending on which position you played him at, we had Bobby Witt Jr., $2,700 as well. And he got to 30.9 points, so he was a hit, and he ended up being the top overall shortstop on yesterday's slate. I believe he would have been like the second or third baseman as well. Then in the outfield, we had Aaron Judge at $4,700. Got to 31.2 points. So he was a hit and the second overall outfielder on yesterday's slate. And he actually came in at pretty reduced ownership too as well. So that was kind of a nice hit there altogether. And then last but not least, we had Kiki Hernandez at $2,600. He got to 6.5 points. So he was a push as well. As I mentioned with Salvador Perez, a guy that didn't really hurt your lineup, but didn't really set it up over the top either. So overall yesterday, we had 2 very good hits, 2 pushes there. Unfortunately, we just missed out on the pitcher with Dylan Cease. If you played like a Max Fried over Dylan Cease, you probably had a good chance of cashing yesterday. If you got lucky and a couple other picks, had a decent chance of cashing as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to the core picks for today. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position. At pitcher, I got Shane McClanahan, $11,200, averaging about 42 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Los Angeles Angels, a team that's been known to strike out quite a bit. I know they did get Mike Trout back recently. Still hasn't quite came into form, but McClanahan did have a very good start versus this team earlier this year. One of the better pitchers on today's slate and probably going to be the most popular one overall. And he does have that higher price tag, $11,200. So going to need a pretty decent start out of him to pay off. But I do think he's definitely worth that price tag on today's slate overall. Then we're going to move down to first base with Rhys Hoskins at $3,200, averaging just under 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Cincinnati Reds. It looks like it's TJ Zeke pitching today for them. Mainly been a reliever in his past. Made 2 starts so far this season. Really hasn't pitched past 4 innings. So it's going to be him and kind of the bullpen today. Cincinnati Reds bullpen is not that great by any means either. So definitely going to be a good day for this Philly team overall. Rhys Hoskins is 2 for 3 with 1 home run versus him in his career. So definitely could be some upside there as well. Then we'll move down to second baseman Bryson Stott. You can also play him at shortstop. He's $2,600, averaging just over 7.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Kind of been a slow start for him for the season, but lately he has a hit in 13 out of his last 14 games that he's actively played in. So obviously there's a lot of good upside there. He's 0 for 3 in the one appearance that he did have versus TJ Zeke earlier this season. So we'll see if that changes today, but definitely a guy that I do like at a lower price tag overall. Then we move down to outfield with Randy Arozarena at $3,600, averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Los Angeles Angels, and it's going to be Mike Mayers pitching today. Guy that's typically been a reliever in the past. Not a super effective one either, but drawing a couple starts are kind of stretched out a little bit as of late for this Angels team. Not really afraid of him at this point in time, and Arozarena is 1 for 2 versus him in his career, so there could be some pretty good upside there. And Randy Arozarena has been one of the highest hitters in all of baseball for about the past 2 or 3 weeks, so definitely like getting to him today. And then last but not least, we have outfielder Cedric Mullins at $2,800. He's averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Chicago White Sox. It's Lucas Giolito pitching today. Giolito has not been pitching well by any means as of late, and Cedric Mullins is 6 for 10 versus him in his career. So it should be a pretty good amount of upside there once again for him today. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $11,600 remaining, $2,900 per player. So maybe spending up a little bit for someone, spending down at a different position, or taking a little bit more balanced approach. Definitely a lot of different options you could take on today's 8-game slate overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my article over at WeBetATS.com and talk about my top GPP stacks for today. So in terms of the stacks that I do have for today, we have the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously, kind of talked about them in my core picks. Going against TJ Zeke today for the Cincinnati Reds. Primarily been a relief pitcher in the past. He's made 2 starts this season. Is he really stretched out? Who knows? But even if he doesn't pitch well, you get into that Reds bullpen, they're not much better either. So could be a pretty advantageous day for this Phillies team overall. Then we have the same type of situation with the Tampa Bay Rays today as well. They're going against Mike Mayers for the Angels. kind of a guy that's primarily been a reliever, a little bit stretched out at this point in time, but if he doesn't pitch well, you're going into that bullpen. Angels bullpen still not the greatest in the world, so this Rays team could have a lot of upside as well. Then we have the Houston Astros going against Dylan Bundy. Some of these hitters have pretty good history versus him, so I wouldn't be surprised if that Astros lineup is one of the top ones for GPPs once again. And then last but not least, we have the Dodgers going against Adrian Houser of the Brewers. Dodgers hitters don't really have too much history versus him, but Adrian Houser is coming back from injury. We'll see how effective he is and how far he pitches into this game. So it should be at a pretty advantageous spot for this Dodgers lineup once again. But with that being said, these are my core 5 picks as well as top GPP stacks for today, August 24th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on today's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing what you had to say. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS, primarily MLB DFS at this point in time. But once we get back around to the NFL and NBA regular seasons, I'll be covering those 2 sports as well. And then with that being said, if you are a newer current subscriber who's yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up daily MLB DFS videos just like this. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.